going to talk about, have the lives of women really, really improved? Or does this persistence of these patriarchal attitudes, and when I say these patriarchal attitudes, I mean both in women and men, force us women to continue to lead lives that are hard and unequal, especially when we compare to our counterparts, the men. I'm Sukirti Gupta from Sipping Thoughts, and I'm also wondering that what are the lies I've been told? So today we're talking to Nilanjana Bhowmick, who's the author of Lies Our Mothers Told Us. The Indian Women's Burden takes a close look at gender inequality that forms the bedrock of India's middle class. This forces women to try to be superwomen. And I'm sure many of you have been trying this because you feel a little bit of guilt. If you're working, you feel you need to be a supermom. If you're a supermom, you feel you need to be working, while ignoring the effects that it has on our mental and our physical health. She asked this very interesting question, and we're going to delve into it today. Does the assertion that women can have it all, and especially we love that phrase, we see it on Instagram everywhere, does it come at too high a price? Nilanjana is an independent, multi-award winning journalist. She's worked for some of the world's top media publications over the last 2 decades. The focus of her work is on gender through the intersectional lens. Her work on gender and social justice has been awarded by the European Commission and the Institute of Development Studies in the UK. She was featured by National Geographic Magazine in their iconic 2019 Women of Impact issue. She's also the author of this book that we're going to talk about today, Lies Our Mothers Told Us, that examines gender equality. Welcome, Nilanjana. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you for having me here.
So, Nilanjana, let's just delve right into it. It was a catchy and thought-provoking title. As soon as I saw it, I was like, it made me wonder. Tell us about the top 3 lies that we as women have been told.
Before I do that, why don't you tell me about the lies that you think your mother told you?
Definitely that you need to learn to cook and clean and sew. Definitely you need to know that those are skills that are going to be very, very important. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you do, but you better know how to cook and clean.
Okay. So for me, I think, there were just 3 things because my mother's life was a little different because she was a working woman as well. And in those days, in the 70s, she was a cop. So it was a little difficult. So the 3 lies I felt that she told me was that study hard, because education is your way to empowerment. And then, she said that, the world, when you grow up, the world is going to be a more equal place. And the third one is that, when you grow up, the world is going to be a more kinder place for women. And I mean, all of those, were lies. I think, they were her hopes for my future, but unfortunately, it just turned into lies.
The funny thing is, I think these are the hopes we still have for our daughters as we move forward. So it's interesting because we are talking about a generation that these the things that we were told 20, 25 years ago, and we're still hoping for that equality, for all of those things to be there for our daughters as they move ahead. So we've already seen one generation. But why this book? And what would you want women to really know when you were writing this?
I think, for me, the first thing that I thought was that I wanted to share my story. I kept hearing these stories all around me. I kept meeting women, who had more or less the same stories as my mother, and I thought it was shocking that, 4 decades, separates my generation and my mother's generation. And the stories were still the same. And I wanted to start a conversation. I wanted, I think, this is our biggest Me Too moment in India is this, when women start speaking up about what happens inside their homes. Because we have been taught to, hide it under the carpet, don't wash dirty linen in the public, adjust, compromise. That's what, we learn, we internalize these things, when we're growing up. And I think I wanted to start a conversation, and I want women to stand up and say, this is me too. This has happened to me too. This has happened to my mother. This has happened to me. And I think, we need to start that conversation. And I hope that I hoped that the book would start that conversation. It's a much needed conversation in our country.
Well, definitely. I'm just going to share a little anecdote that at least I saw. So I have a family friend and they're two doctors, and the woman definitely is far more accomplished. And I'm only saying that because of her degrees and everything. But if you ever ask her a question and her husband differ, she will always say, yes, my husband is the correct one. Whereas
Right.
you know, absolutely and clearly.
Absolutely.
But that is
Absolutely.
that deferral mentality, and that's still there. And this is what we're talking about today in
Absolutely.
2022. You know,
Yes.
we still want
Absolutely.
men to earn more than us. We
Yeah.
still feel that, I mean, equality doesn't mean we're earning equal. Equality for us means that, okay, we may have some rights, but the man is still earning more. The
Yeah.
man still holds more power. And even if you're earning the same, you're still expected to do a lot more.
You, if you are earning the same, you diminish yourself, because then you do not want to appear too arrogant, or too uppity, or with someone with a superiority complex, because these are not attributes of a good woman, a good wife, a good housewife. So I think I have seen too many women diminish themselves, just to keep the peace at home. I mean, always two steps behind their husbands. Always.
Yes, we're still
So
walking two steps behind.
absolutely. When I hear this thing, sometimes people say, behind every successful man there is a woman. Yes, there is a woman, because she's the one who's looking after the household. She's the one caring for the children. She's the one caring for your parents, and her parents as well. So yeah, dude, sure, she is the reason why you are successful, because you don't have to do anything. She's doing it all.
No, that's what we love. That's one of the posts that we did, that this is the biggest scam. And one of
Yeah.
my colleagues used to say, but my wife loves to do all this for me.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, emotional load, mental load. So many times, I've seen, men do these things, very surreptitiously. I cannot eat anyone when anyone else cooks. I can only eat when you cook. You
Oh,
know?
I love your
Yeah,
food so much.
absolutely. And in restaurants, oh, I can't serve, you do it so well. Dude, it's not rocket science, it's life skill. Like, to serve yourself your food, is a life skill. So you don't need to, sort of like emotionally blackmail the, like, women. There's this thing about, emotionally blackmailing women, as to, you must have, and this is not India specific, by the way. I've heard a lot of women, say this abroad also, that I am the center of my family. Without me, everything will fall apart. But is that so? I don't think so. I mean, when you are in a marriage, I think, like, both of you are equal partners. And, if without one person the whole show falls apart, then, the show needs to be, rescripted.
Very well said. But people typically think that it's feminists that write these type of books. So are you a feminist? And what is feminism to you?
I mean, we're all feminists. What is feminism? Feminism is just, um, someone, who believes in equality. And I think, most of us do believe in equality. And I am a feminist. I am a equalist. I am a humanist. Put whatever is you want to, behind my name. But, at the end of the day, I believe in equality. I believe in women's empowerment. So if that makes me a feminist, yes, I am a feminist. And I mean, men in a patriarchal country, men control all the resources. They are the ones who are making all the decisions. So if men have to, like, if men write about women, I mean, what's the point? Women have to start writing about themselves, their experiences. And most importantly, I feel that women have to start sharing their experiences.
Yes.
We don't share our experiences enough. But the moment you start sharing experiences, you see that there is an organic solidarity that happens, because every woman, I think, like, goes through more or less the same sort of challenges in life. So I mean, you said, feminists, always write this kind of books. So I don't think, I think there are books. Books are a window to a different world. books talk about, like different things, I mean, there's fiction, there's non-fiction. In non-fiction, there is politics, and then there are personal stories, and then, like there are so many different types of non-fiction books. So, this is just another, like type of non-fiction book. If you do not, if you feel that feminism is something bad, I mean, if you don't want to know about the experiences of the other half of your country, we are half the population of this country. And if you want to, like not learn, if you want to say that, oh, these are the kinds of books that feminists write, so let's not, we don't want to read them, it's the same sort of, like thing, then that just means that you are not interested in the experiences of the other half of your population. You are not interested in knowing about their lives. And if you are not interested in knowing about their lives, it means you are not committed to changing, helping them change, like what's wrong.
Very well
So
said.
call me what you will, but do read the book.
But there are two personality traits that you talk about, that especially these two toxic personality traits that women have. And please talk about them, because, sometimes I think a lot of it is not even about men. It is just about women themselves.
It is, I mean, people pleasing is something I think every Indian woman I have met, I have seen them trying too hard all the time, to keep everyone happy, from children to parents to in-laws, of course, the husbands, partners. And I think, like it comes with a sense of insecurity and fear, because at the end of the day, I think, we are always battling with the fear of losing it all. So we are willing to do it all. We are willing to, like please everyone, just so, they don't take it away from us. And we know how easy it is to, like take away women's rights. Women's rights are the, first to be taken away and the last to be protected. I mean, like, look at, like what happened with the abortion rights in the
The
US.
Roe versus
It's
Wade.
so, yeah, it's so easy to take away rights. Just imagine if that can happen in, a so-called developed country like the US. I mean, like, I don't blame, our women for always being, like, sort of, like diminishing themselves, not trying to, to please everybody. Because, if it can happen in developed countries, how long will it take for someone to, take away? Anyway, we have rights on paper anyway. So most of it is like, like you have to really struggle hard to, like get your rights, although they are there on paper. So so that's one of the reasons, we try to, like please everyone, keep everyone pleased, so that, I mean, take workplaces, for example. Women are always trying to please all their bosses, their colleagues, because, it is so easy to push women out of workplaces. The moment you stand up for yourself or anyone else, it doesn't take them a moment to push you out.
And get a tag name also.
Sorry?
Let's talk about, and you get tagged as a B
Of
or
course,
whatever.
aggressive, I don't know. I've been called many names. I've even forgotten those names, now.
Good for you. And the second toxic personality trait, the one that I think is more shocking, because this trying to have it all, because that is what we are taught today. Because we are taught that, listen, as a woman, as a whatever, you can have it all.
I mean, the idea of having it all is a myth worldwide. It's a myth. Everywhere in the world, women are realizing that it's impossible to have it all. But, in a country like ours, a patriarchal country like ours, it's it's not just a myth, it's impossible. And, our country is, like we have, set norms, social norms, which are, like, in the last 4 decades, like women's role, we have never reviewed, or tried to change social norms regarding, women's role at home. So how can a woman have it all? Yes, she's going out to work, but when she comes back to home, our double shift is very different than the double shift of women in the Western country. In the Western countries, like they have more automation, in terms of, cooking, cleaning. They have access to, packaged food and all sorts of, like things, they have their own different challenges. A lot of people say that, oh, but here, you can hire domestic workers, but then again, that comes at a price. Those women, you're hiring them for a very measly sum of money, and they are coming and looking after your household. But then what happens, like to their children, who's giving them, like the care, or like the upbringing they need. So we are basically, putting at risk an entire generation of underprivileged kids, to allow a handful of women to go out to work. So whichever way you look at it, women really cannot have it all, which is why, we have 22.3% of women are in the formal labor force. I mean, that's like a whopping,
It's a
like 70%
shockingly low
women,
number.
shockingly low number, and especially given that, our fertility rate is dropping, and, I mean, people are becoming, more women are getting educated, they're going to schools, colleges, women in higher education, like the numbers are rising, and yet, women are not in the workforce, because, they study, and then, like, they are just sucked into domesticity. And that's it. How do you have it all? You can either, have your home, or, you focus on your career, and then get branded all sorts of, like things, all sorts of names, and, and that's it. I mean, I think, it's impossible to have it all in a country like ours. Generally, also, it's a myth.
Yeah, no, but even in the gender parity index, it just came out. We were what,
Yeah.
136 out of 145. So we're really at the bottom when it comes to this gender
We keep
equality.
talking policies and programs, and, this and that. How many women are actually consulted? I mean, how would you know what works for women, what women want, if you don't even talk to women?
No, it's true. This patriarchal mindset, though, let's come back to that. That is so deeply ingrained, and it's going to take centuries to change. We recently did a post on this matrimonial sites, and they saw that women who said they will not work or do not prefer to work got 22% more proposals. This was actually a study that the Times of India reported. So I think we all knew it, but we didn't know that the gap is still so much. And again, we're talking about 2022 and attitudes that are there now. So we all
Absolutely.
think that men want working women, and working women will be the ones that are going to be
Women
moving
can
forward.
never get it right. I mean, it all depends on the men, right? Men want, like some men want working women, some men don't want working women. You are never enough. You are either too tall, too short, too dark, too fair, too modern, too traditional, too smart, too unsmart. So women can never get it right. So, we just go with the flow. Like today there is a study that says, men prefer, non-working women. Tomorrow, there'll be a study that, they prefer working women, and then, our parents will be like, ha, jao, 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 go and, like, go and study and work, because otherwise we won't find a good, like, groom for you. So the point is that, we have no control over our lives. We are still being controlled by what men want.
Want. Yes, very nicely said. What men want. Now let's talk about the superwoman thing, because that's also not something that men impose on us. That's a lot of times something that women impose on themselves.
Always, always. I mean, I think, men play a very surreptitious role in that, in the sense that, what we just discussed, like, oh, you do it so well. Oh, I don't know how to pay the bills. Oh, you do it so well. I do not know how to do this thing. I don't know how to operate this app, or, I don't know, how to do this. You are so good at this. There's that, that emotional sort of a, um, like, blackmailing. And then, of course, like, women feel that, and I have felt that myself, that, because, I came from a very conservative family, and my father was very, like a traditional man. And a lot of, us come from such backgrounds, and we feel that, he allowed me so much freedom. He allowed me to study, he allowed me to go abroad, he allowed me
Allowed.
to work.
Allowed is the
Allowed,
key
allowed,
word.
yes, allowed. So, I must do things, to make him happy, to make him, not sort of, not repent his decision. So, like, right from when I was a very young child, when I was in college, I would make sure I would come back home and make, dad would come home, and I would make him tea, and I would make him, sandwiches. And he was very happy with me. I was his favorite child, because my sister was the rebellious one. She would be like, just out and about with her friends. And then you get into that habit, you start thinking that being a superwoman is your payout for a society that has allowed you again these freedoms. They have maybe allowed you to choose your own partner, maybe allowed you to work, maybe allowed you to you know you know certain frivolous freedoms, like wear what you want to be, or go with your friends, hang out with your friends. So we feel like, my God, we have got so much, and there are women, who live under really dire conditions. So, we must pay it back by being, like good housewives as well.
No, but you said it very well in your book, because you speak about your mother and you say specifically that she felt that they have allowed her to work.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
She felt that I don't want this taken away from me,
Absolutely.
the ability to work. So I better do everything else well.
Absolutely. And we are still doing that. That what is shocking is that 40 years down the line, we are still doing that.
So what can women do? Because I think we talk a lot about the problem. So what is it, and how can society change?
I think actually, we don't talk about it enough. We talk about it in the sense that we talk about the problem, but do we call out our, our fathers or husbands? We don't actually, like call them out as much. Um, and there needs to be a conversation, and a conversation between everyone, not just women. It has to be a conversation between men and women. It's not rocket science, it's like these are life skills, right? Cooking, cleaning, looking after the, like someone caregiving. These are all, life skills, and everybody needs to know them. And the men that we have in our country right now, most of them have not been brought up, to understand that these are life skills. They actually, some of them, even if they want to help, they don't know how to, because they have never been taught how to do these things. So I think, this is the time for all of us to, stand up, speak of our experiences, not in terms of a problem, but in terms of lived experiences, and then have genuine conversations, inside our homes, in public places, in panels, wherever, have a conversation. And that's how, change will start. I'll just quickly tell you one thing. In our country, thousands of women have been killing themselves every year. In any other country, that would have created such an outrage. Do you hear anything about that here? And these women are mostly, like middle class women, and they're mostly between 15 and 49 years of age. And mm, they actually started having a separate category called the housewife suicides, I think in the 1990s, sometime in the 1990s, because the suicides were like increasing in numbers, and most of the suicides are due to emotional reasons. But you go and try and find any paper, any like sustained discussion on this, you will not find it. So I don't know if we are connecting the dots. We are talking about a problem, a very generic problem, but we are not connecting the dots. We will have to start, like to speak up about our lived experiences. We have to start connecting the dots. There has to be a lot more studies. The government has to really work on changing normative behavior. It's not just enough to make policies and programs and say, oh, we have given you rights. Not enough. So I think like we have to all, I really feel like all of it needs to start with all of us speaking up about what goes inside our homes. It's a hard decision. It was hard for me also, to decide how much to tell and how much not to tell. But at the end of the day, if I want to like other women to speak up, I need to tell my story too.
Well, thank you, Nilanjana. And I think the next thing is we have to stop telling these lies to our daughters and our sons.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I hope we can get this conversation started.
Yes, hopefully so. Thank you.